She could get out and hitchhike.
I wouldn't recommend. But she told me she's trying to, is she close?
Arthur, do you hitchhike in France?
Like autos.
Oh, it's kind of dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, it is here too.
You never know what person.
You got that right. Yeah, I picked up a hitchhiker one time when I was young. He scared me to death. I was just hoping he would get out when I got to the designated stop. It was weird. I didn't pick up any after that one. Okay, there's 6 of you here tonight. And I don't know if you all know how close it is to we finish things up, and we're way behind. Way behind. All right, today is November the 14th. And on November the 21st is Thanksgiving. All right, no class. And then, was that November the 28th probably, is our last class. We've got 2 classes to cover, 3 chapters, go over a test. So I need your all's help. We missed a night, which was important because of electricity. We missed a night at the beginning of the semester, the way the semester started. So we're short 2 nights. And the semester seems to be ending early. The next night in December, let's see, November has 30 days. The 5th, you would have your exam, December the 5th. So we're behind. All right, I have a test. I'll give it back to you the last part of class. Okay, the married couple took the test. Arthur took the test. And Evan took the test. So Arthur was gone last week, and married couple was busy having a baby and recuperating. Evan was sick, and Tara, I think her child was sick. So Tara, you need to text me or call me or email me. You need to take this test. You definitely need to finish. You have great grades on the first 2 tests. All right. Anyway, you'll get back your test the last part of class tonight. Now, did I give you any assignments, Morgan, for tonight?
Yes.
What were those, please?
Number 22 and 23 and 2A and 3A.
20 what now?
22 and 23 and 2A and 3A.
All right. Now, 4A is due next week to hand in. Next week, 2 weeks from tonight. So you need to do 4A. It will be a bonus, but I want everybody to do it. It's a bank reconciliation. All right, we're going to look at these problems, then we're going to cover chapter 9 tonight. And that will leave us 1 week to wrap up. Now, when we get back from Thanksgiving, this is Wednesday night class. If you all think we need to, we'll come back on Thursday night. Anybody have a Thursday night class? I mean, if you think we need to, we'll come back Thursday night, 2 weeks and a day from today. Maybe we won't have to if you all work with me and stay caught up and so forth. Hopefully everybody's pre-registered. I think everybody has, but Evan and William. Arthur, I think you and Millie and Carlos and Eva have pre-registered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it going to be on Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday?
Tuesday, Thursday. Carlos, I started off with 10 in here, and there's still 10.
What?
I started out with 10 students in my night class, and there's still 10. I started out with 18 or 20 in my day class, and there's about half left. Some of them dropped out. They didn't do any work. The other day, I had 9 in class during the day. 7 of them had not missed a class. 2 of them missed 1 class. Now that 9, they all have C's or better. The other 9 were not in class. I just hope a couple of them has C's. Okay, when I go look at their grades. Tonight we'll make 3 grades. So remember, you have your Cengage. Now, has everybody got Cengage chapter 7 finished? That will be for your bonus tonight. And then I'm going to look at Cengage at the end, and it will be worth something, some percent of your grade. Your grade will help some of you out also. Next semester, we'll still be using Cengage. I don't know if some of you have to renew for a semester or if you got it for the whole year. If you bought the book and the CD together, you got it for the whole year, right? Some of you may have to renew Cengage. I don't know if I like Cengage or not. I like the workbook that we had last year. But now if you use Cengage right and go to those help videos and so forth, it could be great for you. Now, is the talk out at the, what do y'all call where y'all live? You call it a motel? You call it a dorm? What do you call it?
What?
Where you live, what do you call it?
Mountain View.
Mountain View, motel or dorm, or just Mountain View?
They use it.
All right. Anyhow,
At the window.
I think you are probably getting ready to lose one of the international students. Is that right? Not one of you all. Anyway. Do you know what I'm talking about, Millie? Well, Millie can tell you guys. He has been practicing tennis with you guys. I think. Anyway, I won't say anything else. Oh, is it starting to sink in, Carlos? Yeah. Well, I hate that anything happens to any student. All right, on 8/22, it tells you the heading must be June the 30th. Outstanding checks should be deducted, the deposit in transit. Now, you got to learn a bank reconciliation, folks, okay? And we can wrap this chapter up pretty easy before the break and get on and do a little bit with chapter 9. All right? Now, take your bank balance, add your deposit in transit. Now, you know, if you made a deposit in ATM right now, you got a bank statement in the mail tomorrow, it wouldn't be on it, would it? So that's a deposit in transit. All right, and outstanding checks, okay, if they haven't been cashed, they're outstanding. It's simple. That gives you an adjusted balance. Usually, it's that easy on the first part unless there's an error. Now, on the books balance, banks will collect notes for small businesses or any business. 6,300 note and enters. Then there was an error that you made on your checkbook. And it's a good error because you have to add back 5,400. then you deduct a bad check and service charge. These two have to match, okay? Now, on the exam, Millie, I know you're going to ask this. You can use at least 1 page of notes, okay? Front only, have it right this time. And guys, you can't borrow anybody else's notes next time. I know somebody borrowed a page of Eva's notes because they didn't have it. Have your own page of notes. And somebody might learn something by writing down the notes, okay? Now, it depends on what we get covered tonight and our next meeting. I may let you use both sides. Maybe, we'll see. But at least one side, you start writing those notes. All right, number 23 is about the same as 22. Take your bank balance, deduct outstanding check. There was no deposit in transit. Book balance, add note and interest collected by the bank, deduct service charge. Now, on either one of these bank reconciliations, journal entries only applies here to your book balance. All right. The note, you would debit cash and credit notes receivable probably for $6,000 and credit interest revenue for $300. And here, probably you'd debit cash $5,400, credit accounts payable or something. You overpaid your accounts payable or made your entry wrong. Now, for a bad check, you debit accounts receivable and credit cash. And for service charge, miscellaneous expense, debit and credit cash. So that is 2 bank reconciliations. Now I'm going to assume that 2 or 3 of you did these and 2 or 3 of you did not. Okay. 2A. Now 2A is just setting up petty cash. 3 things in this chapter: cash over and short, petty cash, and a bank reconciliation. Okay. All right. Debit petty cash and credit cash when you set up the fund. Okay. Millie, you should have been wearing those glasses all the time. They make you look intelligent. But anyway. All right. Here you had sales of $6,148, but you were short, you were over, and you got $32 as like an other revenue and debit cash. And then you got all these little receipts for your petty cash. So your debit store supplies, delivery expense, office supplies, miscellaneous, and cash over and short, you were short $15 and credit cash. Here again, you had sales, you were short $14. You were short $15. When you debit cash over and short, it's like an expense. And then, of course, here you want to reduce your petty cash, you debit cash, and credit petty cash. Now that'll leave you $700 in your petty cash fund. All right. So in this chapter, know you're over and short. It's easy. Petty cash is not bad. And then know your bank reconciliation. William, do you run a cash register? Have you run a cash register?
All the time.
At McDonald's? Are you ever shorting over? All right. I think I asked you this last week. In fact, of course, you'd rather be over. All right. Now, this chapter has some internal control on it, too. Now, if you had a policy at McDonald's that if a cashier's drawer was short, they'd have to make it up out of their payday. Now, that would be a wrong thing to do. It would make them overcharge or shortchange some of their customers. So they'd have more money in their drawer in case they were short. So that's an internal control item in this chapter. What do you do with your over and short? Do you
we have a limit, it can't be $2 over or short. If it is 3 times of that, you're fired. If it's a large amount, you let go of as well, but on the first time, of course.
So they better be able to count money.
Yeah.
But it's easy because the case register says change due $18.25.
It tells you exactly.
All they gotta do is count at $18.25. They can't do that and they've got 3 mistakes, then they deserve to be fired. Okay? Evan, you ever take that money and run a cash register?
Every day at work.
Now, where you working at?
Dollar General.
Dollar General, okay. What's your over and short policy there?
Anything more than $2, then you get wrote up, and then 3 times and you're fired. And
Same as
then,
McDonald's.
but if you're like, I think it's like $25 short, you're automatically fired. Or $25 over, they also automatically fire you. So it's pretty similar to McDonald's.
You ever been short or over?
Mm-hmm. The most I've been short was like $5. I got wrote up, but it's never happened again. I'm usually pretty right on the money.
Yeah, good. About you, Millie? Don't handle cash? Okay. That's debit cards. Author cards, don't handle cash anywhere? Or have you ever, even in your own country? Where'd you work at? All right. Are you working here?
Yeah, we're,
So you don't handle cash, right?
you mean what?
I let you off, but you don't handle cash, do you? At work, I'm not talking about personal. Hopefully, everybody has some cash personal, okay? All right, enough of that. Moving on to your last problem that was due today. Another bank reconciliation. All right. Deposit in transit added. A bank error and charged check as 420 instead of 240. So banks transpose too, okay? And you'd go to the bank, get them straighten that out. Deduct your outstanding checks. Collect your note, error in recording a check. That's a big error. And then bank service charge. But it has to balance at 370. All right. Now you make journal entries only for the bottom part. Debit cash, debit notes receivable, credit interest revenue. Debit accounts payable for that mistake. Debit miscellaneous expense for the service charge and credit cash. Banks used to be notorious for charging service charge. Now they're not too bad at it. And you used to have to keep a balance. Now they're not too bad at the balance you have to keep, so forth. Okay. All right. Now problem 4, in case you don't get in the middle, problem 4A, copy down a check figure. Problem 4A that everybody needs to turn in next week is $38,470.75. I believe that's the problem I wanted you to work. Let me make sure. Look at the end of your chapter. Look at problem 4A. We need to give you a couple of pointers on that anyway. No, I'm sorry, it's 5A. Change your assignment to 5A. Now, look at that problem. What page is it on, William?
It's on 432.
Well, please look at page 432. It's important. Evan, you have page 432? All right, you do. Guys, can you all find page 432?
Yeah, which exercise?
Page 432, problem 5A. Try to find the problem.
Chapter 8, so.
That's correct. I need to give you some pointers on that problem. That's it. Millie, do you room with Eva? but you see her often, so
Yeah.
you'll bring her up to date on everything. Okay. And then Miranda and Chris, hopefully you are watching or will watch. Okay, on page 432, 5A, they give you a bunch of data here, and you've got to assemble it and do a bank reconciliation. All right, you have last month's bank reconciliation. Now, how do I find? I take my beginning cash, and I've got to add my receipts, and then I've got to deduct the checks I wrote out. That will give me my cash balance. You got to find your cash balance. The bank gives you the balance they have. Now, look at the checks we wrote out. Was check 740 cashed? Look over at your beige little statement there, and you see 740 on there anywhere. Do you see it? Do you see check 740 on your beige part?
I don't see it.
It's there. Find it, William. All right, 740. Now see if it's been cashed. Look at your second row over here. See if check 740 has been cashed. It has, hasn't it? Did you find it, Evan?
I see it over here, but not on this one.
Yeah, you gotta find it on that one. It's there. Turn around and show Millie. It's been cashed. See it, Millie? Go up, show
Oh,
her
I
again.
see it.
Now, Millie, will you show the guys? Show them that it's been cashed. If they haven't found it. All right. Now, if they haven't been cashed, they're what? If they haven't been cashed, they are
Outstanding.
right. Now, let's look at check number 760. Here's the last check written, see if it's been cashed. $760 has not been cashed?
Oh, yes.
It has, okay, try check 759. If you can't find it, it's outstanding. All right, now you got to take all your deposits too. I bet you that last deposit hadn't been posted. The deposit on June the 30th, see if that 1117 has been deposited. Look at it has not, has it? It's not been deposited. Okay, now go down and look at your last month's bank statement. How many checks were outstanding last month? On May the 31st, how many checks were outstanding? 4. Now, William, has check 731 cleared? If not, it's still outstanding.
It has.
All right. Come in, stranger.
Sorry.
So, all right. Okay. How about the next check? 736.
Yes.
Has check 738 been cashed? Then it's outstanding. Okay, you got my drift on doing that bank reconciliation? I hope so. 5A is due next week when you walk in the door. 2 weeks from tonight. So what will you international students be doing on Thanksgiving, Arthur? What will you be doing for Thanksgiving next week?
Waiting to,
Do what?
New York.
You're going to New York?
Yes.
You got relatives?
What?
Have you got relatives in New York or you're just going? Not for tennis?
No.
How about you, Carlos? What are you doing?
I'm going to Orlando
To where?
or Florida. Florida.
Okay. Millie, what are you doing? Got relatives or? How about Eva? You're what? New York? With Arthur? Okay. All right. Be careful. With Arthur. And I was just curious because Thanksgiving or it's not observed in other countries like it is ours. We had our own reason for observing Thanksgiving. And usually if students stay here, international students, somebody invites them in the area for Thanksgiving dinner. So forth. You all not had any invites? You have, Millie? Okay. But anyhow, it sounds like you all got plans to travel. What part of New York, Arthur?
Brooklyn.
I've been to New York and toured it and so forth, but I want to ride the train, Amtrak. I was going to ride it last summer, but then that train depot in New York was under construction. They said it was a mess and you had to wait for hours. So I'll probably take the Amtrak train somewhere, little town out here in West Virginia is where you get on Amtrak and ride it to New York. It runs to Chicago also, Amtrak does. You know what I'm talking about, Millie? Amtrak? It's a train. And yeah, it'd be a lot cheaper than airfare.
It's very cheap. I was in New York for the whole summer, and it was like $100 plane ticket to Charlotte.
Well, it's not bad. Yeah, you get them that cheap. Of course, Chicago, you could drive to New York.
I'm driving to Chicago.
Yeah.
It's 10 hours, not that bad. And I want to have a car. It's easier.
When I sponsored PBL, I took about Chicago. I think I took about 30 students, 2 vans, PBL students to Chicago to compete. We went down the Magnificent Mile. Have you been down yet?
I never been so far.
Okay, you got to walk some of the Magnificent Mile. You probably can't buy too much. You know, a tie would probably cost $90. A lady's handbag, 4,000. But that's the Magnificent Mile. I took a bunch of students to New York City also, and we toured quite a few things. Some place we didn't get to go. Okay, but of course, one thing I remember about New York, it's got the biggest, big Victoria's Secret store in the country. All my female students say they had to go there.
I was working for 3 months, so I was like always going to New York every weekend,
Yeah, okay.
and it's different.
All right, so chapter 9 it is. And chapter 9 is receivables. And the first page in chapter 9 is going to talk about bad debts. If you would turn your textbook, please, to page 444. Okay? That sounds like some kind of a rifle, 444. But anyway, let me bring up also my PowerPoint. All right. William, do you have any debts? You owe anybody anything? You're lucky. Boy, I know you have some debts, don't you? You owe a car payment? How about a home? Evan, you probably don't have a debt in the world, do you?
Just my credit card debts.
You got a credit card debt?
Yeah.
Millie, you don't even have any debt? You owe anybody anything? Cars, Alden? No debts? Good, no debt. All right. Well, you know, if you make debts, you're supposed to pay them. If you don't pay them, they're bad debts. Now, how does a business know a debt's going to be bad? 210, net 30, 210, net 60. You wait 90 days, 120 days. When is it bad? Now, if they go bankrupt, you know it's bad. If you see them in the obituary, probably it's a bad debt. If they're dead, okay? Or if you've tried every means to collect. Now, don't know about your all's country, but in this country, someone you owed money to, a business, could call your neighbor up and tell them what a dirty, rotten bill payer you are. They can't do that now. Truth in Lending Act, Fair Credit Reporting, and so forth, some acts that were passed. But they can call you up. They can send you letters. They can tell you if your bill has been paid, ignore this notice, or if it crossed in the mail, and so forth. And they threaten to take you to court, and so forth. So Evan, you never had a bad debt? So you've never ordered something like 6 CDs or 6 movies for 99 cents, and you have to get one every month and pay for it? They don't do those like they used to.
Like you mean like a magazine subscription or something?
No. Back in the day, before all the free music on your iPhones and Pandora and Siri, XM, before all that, you could order, it was 08 tracks, then it was cassettes, then it was CDs. I could order 6 CDs for 99 cents. But I'd have to buy a CD a month for the next 6 months. That might cost me $14.95. That's how they got their money back. They had a lot of bad debts. 10, 11-year-old kids ordered them in their parents' name. The parents wouldn't pay for it. Bad debt. All right. If Morgan don't pay her car payment, they probably could repossess it, couldn't they? Now, if they sell it for less than what she owes on it, she still owes the money. And if she don't pay them, it could still be a bad debt. Okay? All right. Anyway, receivables. But we'll look at notes receivable in a minute. First off, I want to look at bad debts. Uncollectible accounts. Now, there's 2 methods. This is the easy method. It's the one that IRS likes. If Morgan will not pay her car payment and they write it off, they'll just debit bad debt expense and credit accounts receivable. If she pays them, they'll debit cash, of course. This method's a little more complicated. There's 2 situations under this method. But now in Morgan's situation, here's the journal entry for the direct write-off method. It's that easy. But if Morgan won the lottery and she decided to pay this $4,200 that she owes on her car, it'd probably be a note, not accounts receivable anyway. But the company would reverse this. They'd debit accounts receivable and credit bad debt expense. And then they'd take her money, and it would look like this. All right. They would reverse that entry, they'd take her money. That method's easy. You'll have no trouble learning it. Has anybody started to engage on chapter 9? First of all, what about chapter 8? How are you doing, Morgan, on chapter 8, engage? You're at 80, William? Evan?
I haven't got a chapter in yet.
How about the rest of you? Have you started engage chapter 8? You need to have that finished when we get back here 2 weeks from tonight. Along with that bank reconciliation. Along with reading chapter 9. Okay? And along with starting engage on chapter 9. So you got a lot to do in 2 weeks. We can do it. If you can't, we'll have to come 2 nights that last week, Wednesday and Thursday. Received $1,200 from Jay Burke and wrote off the remainder owed. So we take his cash and we debit the remainder for bad debt expense and credit accounts receivable. Now we reinstated him when he got the money and took his cash. Now the allowance method will probably take a % of sales. The company has an accounts receivable balance of $200,000. They estimate a total of $30,000 of that will be uncollectible. Boy, they got some bad customers, don't they? Evan, have you ever been late in paying your credit card?
No, I just set up automatic payments. So I can't be late.
Yeah. Well, they'll charge you interest and they'll charge you penalty and all that stuff. But here, you debit bad debt expense and credit allowance for doubtful accounts. Now, when somebody's account becomes bad, you use some of that $30,000 and debit allowance for doubtful accounts and credit accounts receivable. So please study those 2 methods in this chapter. Direct write-off method, the allowance method. Now, the allowance method, when you study this, please notice that there's 2 situations. % of sales method, you don't worry about what's here. But the next method you do, and that's called the aging accounts receivable. I'll try to get to that in a minute. It's here somewhere. Here it is. All right. Now, Morgan, for not past due accounts, what % will not be collected? All right, Eva, for accounts 91 to 100 and some days past due, what % will we not collect? 30. All right, Arthur, for accounts over a year past due, what % will we probably not collect? All right, so the longer an account goes uncollected, the more likely you are not going to collect, from 2% up to 80%. All right, study that method. We really got to work on it 2 weeks from tonight. That's called estimate the accounts receivable. So please read this page in your book, the direct write-off method and the allowance method. And I'm trying to hurry over to notes receivable. Now, hopefully all of you know how to calculate interest. Interest is equal to the principal times the rate times the time. All right. Now you could have seen some other letters for that, but they're really the same thing. You did this in the 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, different levels. All right. So real quickly, if the principal is $15,000 and the rate is 6%. Now, if I use months, you put months over 12. If I said 3 months, put 3 over 12, right? But if I say 90 days or 60 days, you put 60 over 360. We use a rounded year, a banker's year. So use 60 days over 360. Find me the interest on that note. It would be $150 if you calculate it right. So calculate that and give me $150. Okay, if you got a calculator, get it out. We're going to use it here for a few seconds. Morgan, did you get 150? That was 15,000. William, did you get 150? Evan, did you get 150?
I got 148. Pretty close.
148. How'd you get 148?
I don't know. I just multiplied them all. I got pretty sure I did.
Did you put 60 over 360?
I'll try it again.
It should come out even to $150.
Oh,
Got it, Morgan? Eva, got $150?
$60 or $360 times what?
15,000 times 6% times 60 over 360.
I got it. That's it.
William? Got it? Eva? I got to have $150. Millie? Got it? Eva? Carlos? Arthur? Okay, good. Beginning to think you were dreaming about New York. All right, let's practice. Okay. I'm going to give you 6% for the next couple of problems. I'm going to give you 60 days for the next couple of problems. All right. William, give me a principal. Give me an amount for the principal.
20,000.
All right. Folks, go ahead and work that. Your answer will be $200. $200, right?
you still divide it by 365?
I said use a rounded year, dear, 360. Got it, Millie? Got it, Morgan? All right, Morgan, give me a principal.
35,000.
See, it don't have to be, it could be odd dollars. Work that. Your answer is going to be $350. Are you getting better at it? Have you got 350? Okay, some of you do. All right, Evan, I'm going to change this to 9%. And give me an amount for the principal, Evan.
82,500.
All right, your interest is going to be 12,000. Well, let me see. I'm trying to do this in my head. $12,037.50.
$1,200.
1,000. Okay, 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. $37.50. Is that right?
1,237.
230, yeah. That's where my 12 came in. Millie, give me a number up here. Principal.
55,231.
All right, I want to change this back to 6%. Now your answer is going to be 552.31, Millie. So work that out.
Yeah.
Okay, you good? All right. Eva, give me a number. I'm going to change that to 12%.
75,000.
All right, 75,000. Now your interest is going to be 1,500. Work it out.
Just the 6%,
You got 1,500?
just the 6% times two,
The what?
just 6% times two.
Trying to figure it out, Carlos? Did y'all get 1,500? Well, just practice. You got 1,500? Okay. So we're just doing interest. Let's change the days to 120. Carlos, give me an amount. Just give me even thousands this time.
25.
All right, your interest is going to be $1,200. Work it out.
600. 600.
1,200. I changed the days too, Carlos.
Ah,
Eva, have you got 1,200? Have you got 1,200, Millie? Evan, you got 1,200?
Yeah.
Morgan, William? All right. So I can work these faster by just looking at them than you can with your calculators.
What's the secret?
The what?
What's the secret?
Brains. No, there is a little bit of a secret, Morgan. One day I was up here in 1979. I was teaching, and I stayed here about a year and went back to community college. And I was lucky enough, they took me back after I quit. Okay. But I was doing a problem, $525 principal times 6%. Now 6%, 6 out of 100, isn't it? And I was doing 60 days, and we were using a banker's year. That's not exact interest, but I knew this reduced down to 1/6. I knew my sixes canceled out. So I was actually dividing $525 by 100. And when you divide by 100, you just move your decimal 2 to the left. And the interest is $5.25. Now, if I change this to 12, I would double that 525, and your answer would be 1050. If I was going by 9, I'd take time and a half that 525. Or if I doubled this, I'd take 2 times. If I double both, I'd take 4 times. So that's just a method I worked up, and I called it the 60 day 6% method. Okay. But you don't have to know it. Now, in a note, we've got a $20,000 note that's called the face. the interest you find, you add it to it, and that's called maturity value. So find me the maturity value on a $500 note at 8%. I can do that too, because 2/6 is 1/3 of a fraction. I can do that pretty fast too. And we'll go with 60 days. Now find me the interest, add it on, give me the maturity value. How much is your interest on that? Whoa. I'm sorry. I really gave you a bum steer here. The note's 20,000, interest is 8%, the time is 60 days. Forget that 500. Give me the interest, add to 20,000. 267?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Because it's just for 60 days. Is that correct? You see, I would have moved my decimal 2 to the left and got 200. And then 2 extra percent is 2/6, 1/3. 1/3 of 200 is 67. Carlos is right. Now your maturity value is 20,267. So these are parts of a note. Now we need to know how to count days on a note. All right, the days of the month. Morgan, how many days are in March?
31.
William, June? Evan, August?
31.
How about September, Eva? How many? Okay, Millie. How about December? Arthur, how about February?
28 or 29.
All right. And Carlos, how about May?
30.
1. All right. Now you need to know the days of the month. Do I want you to memorize them? No. Use a calendar. Now, back when I was somewhere in school, a long time ago, we had a little rhyme. It went like this: 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31 except February alone. It has 28, and leap year gives it 29. But anyway, then there was the knuckle method. Have you heard the knuckle method, Morgan? The knuckle method is a knuckle has 31 days. January, a knuckle. February, a valley. March, a knuckle, 31 days. April, a valley, 30. June, May, 31 days. June, 30. July, 31. Skip over to another knuckle, August, 31. There's only 2 months that have 31 back to back. And that's the knuckle method. Now, a question for Millie. What months have 28 days in them? She answered that correct, didn't she? All of them have 28 days. Okay. Now, February has 28, and every 4 years you get 29. Okay. Back when I was growing up, there was old tales about leap year. And leap year a female could ask a man to marry her. And in leap year, a female could ask a man for a date or out to dinner, and it was proper. Now it don't matter, it's proper anytime. You can ask them anything, anytime, can't you, Morgan? Did you ask your husband to marry you? All right. Anyway. Okay, so now we've got a note dated March 1/18. It's a 90-day note. Tell me when the due date of that note is. Give me the due date of that note. It has to be exactly 90 days. Not 3 months. That's not 3 months. 3 months would be April, May, June. Would be 6/1/18 if it were a 3-month note. So you got to count the days. When does that note due? How many days are left in March? How many days are left in March?
31st of
1 from 31 is 30, right? How many days do we have in April? 30. It's due on the 90th day, so May the 30th is when that note is due. It's not due June the 1st, it's due May the 30th. So you need to practice that one. We need to practice that one more time. 120-day note dated June 1/18. Give me the due date of that note. What do you think, Carlos?
September 30th.
Seems like a long time. That's 6 months. 120 days are just about 3 months.
Yeah, June to September. June to September.
Huh?
June to September is not 6 months, it's 3 months.
Well, yeah.
September.
September sometime, yeah.
September.
How many days are left in June?
September 30th.
29. That's June. July is 31. And August is 31 also, isn't it? So how many more days do I need in September? Is that what you said, Carlos? 29?
I said 30. I said 30.
It looks like it's the 29th, doesn't it?
We counted first.
All right. So what are you going to have to do to a note? I will give you the face. You'll have to add interest to get maturity value. All right. And I also want you to find the maturity date. That's parts of a note. Okay. There's going to be something else to do with this note too after we look at some PowerPoint. Okay, a note receivable is a promissory note. It's a written document spelling out conditions, characteristics of a note. It's better to show you. The payee is who the note's going to be paid to. All right. The person who signs the note is the maker. Now, the bank that pays the note is the payee, a payer. I'm sorry. Payee is here, the maker, then there's a payer. All right. And this note is due June the 13th. And it's written March the 16th. All right. It's for $2,000. It doesn't say how many days it is, does it? Is that the 13th or the 16th? The what? All right, but it's due on the 14th. All right, must be a 60 or 90 or something day note. Anyway, that is a note. All right, they do it about the same way. 31 days in March, minus the 16 leaves 15, 30 in April, 31 in May. So it's going to be due in 90 days, and that gives us the 14th. Have a calendar with you. That'll be fine. Have a calendar. Okay. The maturity value is the amount that must be paid. Principal plus interest is the maturity value. All right. Think about this a minute. When you make that note, you loan somebody $2,000. Now, first off, how do you get a note receivable? You can loan a customer $2,000. You can debit notes receivable for $2,000 and credit cash. You can debit notes receivable for $2,000 and credit sales. If you were buying a high-priced item like a piece of equipment, you'd debit notes receivable and credit sales. Now, you also can swap this for an accounts receivable. You would debit notes receivable and give them credit for their accounts receivable. 3 ways you can get a note on the book. Now, here we would debit cash for $2,050. We would credit notes receivable for the $5,000 NR, and we credit interest revenue for the $50. So you got to know how to make journal entries with these notes also. Now, if a person won't pay you a note, if a person won't pay you a $6,000 note, you put it, this was the note, you took the note for $6,000 for accounts receivable. And when he pays you, here's the entry: debit cash, credit notes, and credit interest revenue. Now, what if that note is dishonored? Carlos, do you know what dishonored means? Any of you international students know what dishonored means?
It's a note that hasn't been paid.
The what?
A note that hasn't been paid.
Right, hasn't been paid, or they didn't pay it on time.
Yeah.
If it's not paid on time, it's dishonored. All right, if a note is dishonored, if it's honored, you just debit cash and so on. But if it's dishonored, you've got to put it back in accounts receivable. And you still credit the note and credit the interest. Now, hopefully, they'll pay you this on accounts receivable. If not, you write it off as a bad debt. Now, you may have an adjusted entry if it's not due yet and you've got interest for so many days. You debit interest receivable and credit interest revenue. We made those adjusted entries back in chapter 4. Then you take the note, then you get rid of the receivable, and then, of course, the remainder is revenue. Now, note on the balance sheet, all right, the accounts receivable first on the balance sheet, you take out the allowance, and you've got net. Now, notes receivable, if it's under a year, it goes under current liabilities. A notes receivable for over a year goes under long-term assets. Current assets under a year, notes receivable over a year, it would probably go under some kind of long-term. It's not a current asset. It will go under investments, which accounts you haven't heard of yet. Accounts receivable turnover, another ratio. Sales divided by average accounts receivable. All right, here is your sales. Beginning and ending accounts receivable divided by 2. All right, gives you average accounts receivable. And then if you divide that into sales, your accounts receivable turned over 7.94 times, almost 8 times. Now, would you like for that 8 to be bigger or smaller? Divide 8 into 365. 8 into 365 is how much? How many days?
166.
How many?
167.
Can't be that much. 8 into 365.
I don't know where I got that from.
I don't either.
46.
How many?
46.
That means you're collecting your accounts receivable over 46 days. Now, like Morgan said, if that were bigger, let's say it were 10. Divide 10 into 365. It'd be 36.5 days. Okay. All right. It's accounts receivable turnover. And I believe that's the end of the chapter. Now, they're leaving out one hard thing about notes, and that is discounting, selling a note to a bank. So if they don't mention it, I won't. And if they have it in the appendix, I may skip it. So let me see if they have it in the appendix. I don't see it in an appendix, so it's not there. We won't worry about it. Let's see. It's not in the appendix. All right, on this chapter, trying to find the right exercise. Cannot find it. All right, do PE exercise 5A and 6A. But anyway, let's take a break first. But you got 2 exercises to do if you don't want to take a break. What y'all gonna do if you go to school? Gotta go down 9-11. 9-11. Gotta go down where that happened. And there's a famous sign there. Tourist stop.
Oh, yeah, I heard. Cool.
Who had a motel, and this other will come around. This other one, college professor was with me, and all this doing. We got on radio. Some kind of transportation bus, takes us out to the city. And it's dark, and some poor neighborhood, this poor people cut on that. The welfare check. Went to the same place. And what's that? What does that? Well. You hear that? No.
Estoy haciendo capítulo 8. Sí, sí. No sé.
Okay, those two little exercises, 5A, I guess. What is the due date of that note? Has anybody got that yet? 5A, A part,
September 21st.
how much?
September 21st.
Okay, 9/21. Doesn't matter about the year. 60-day note. There was 8 days left in July. There's 31 in August. That is, wait a minute, how many? 8 is left in July, 31 in August. Okay, that's 39 plus 21, yeah. September 21. Determine the maturity value of the note. All right. The interest was 280 plus 140. Interest is 420, right? So the maturity value of that note is 28,420. Journalize the entry to record the receipt of the payment. Your debit cash, 28,420. Your credit notes receivable, 28,000, and your credit interest revenue, 420. All right. Does anybody have 6A yet? Does anybody have 6A? What do you do to 6A? You take an average of the accounts receivable and divide it into sales. So you females do that for year Y2, and you guys do that for year Y1. Ladies, Y2, guys, Y1.
Which program is it? What?
You're supposed to be doing 6A, guys.
There's no 6A.
Well, yeah, there is. PE. It's a PE. 6A. PE. All right, your average accounts receivable for Y2 would be 320,000 divided into 2,912,000. Morgan, what did you get for that? Okay, wait a minute. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay. It's what did you get, Morgan? Huh?
Not bad.
No, this don't look right.
I did the sum of the two and then divided it.
I got the 10.2.
All right, this is 320, right? Divide 320 into 2,912. What does that give me? 320 into 2,912. What does that give me? Does that give me 9.1 or not? All right, Morgan, you see how to do that now, right? Guys, what'd you get? Did you get to 10.2? Now, if you do B part of this, you can do it their way. Takes a lot longer to do it their way. Morgan, I want you to divide 9.1 into 365. And Evan, divide 10.1. I believe it was 10.2 into 365. And Morgan, what did you get?
40.1.
All right. If you do it this way, it was shorter. You've already found 9.1, divide that into 365, and it's shorter than doing the way they're doing it. Evan, did you get 35.9?
Yeah.
You're collecting about every 36 days. Now, this company here is doing better. It's better to collect as soon as possible. That keeps your cash flow coming in, okay? Now, let's go over to same page, page 466. We're on the PE exercises, PEs, okay? I want you to look at exercise 9-1A. We're going to practice a couple of these bad debts. Journalize the following transaction using the direct write-off method. All right, do 9-1A and try to do 9-2A. Look back in your book if you need to. Take a minute and do those journal entries. 9-1A, these are the PEs. working, she was putting her classes in the computer.
Mhm.
I just wasn't supposed to put your receipt in my mailbox.
Oh, okay, awesome, thank you.
What you say you were going during Thanksgiving? Where? Florida? Oh, yeah, I didn't understand. What's hard? Really nice. So go to the hurricane area. Over 9 degrees in Florida. New York and Chicago. How? Your eagle had to go out. I'm smart, get on today's show. And they say. Okay, on that one, folks, on that first little exercise, well, on that first little exercise, what did you debit?
I debited both cash and bad debt expense. Cash by 800, bad debt by 1,200.
All right, that's all you do with a direct write-off method. If they pay you some cash, debit cash. If they didn't pay you no cash, debit bad debt expense 2,000. Here, they hit the lottery, Gene did, and your debit accounts receivable and credit bad debt expense, and then take the cash. Now, that's all there is to the direct write-off method, okay? Now, practice the allowance method. Received $800 from Gene, let's see, 2A is the allowance method, and wrote off the remainder owed of $1,200. Now, what is the difference? What would you put here if it were the allowance method? What would take place of bad debt expense? All right, look at this. We got to move on now. We would debit allowance for doubtful accounts is the only difference. And we reverse it and take the cash. So the allowance method in that aspect is easy, but we got to learn how to calculate the percent of sales to set that up in adjusting entry. Okay. All right. So for next week, I want you to try, if you get time. Now, first thing, you need to work on Cengage, chapter 8. You need to do problem 5A, chapter 8. Take care of chapter 8 first. Now, some of you are going to be traveling. Okay? They have to take your book with you. Okay? And then, of course, read chapter 9. And start Cengage if you can on chapter 9. And also on chapter 9, I want you to work a couple of problems, exercises. Exercise 3 and 4, just 2 little exercises. I won't be too much on those. Okay, then we got to learn notes. So we got to, 2 weeks from now, we got to wrap up chapter 9 and do chapter 10. So we can do it, or we can come back another night if we need to. Okay, with that, we are ending class. And I know Chris, you and Miranda have taken the test, but Tara has not, so I'm going to cut off the live streaming at this point.